The hospital room smelled of medicine and quiet fear. Machines hummed softly, counting time and beeps. On the narrow bed lay Harold, his skin pale, his chest rising with effort. A thin tube ran under his nose, helping him breathe. Cancer had taken most of his strength, but not his eyes. His eyes were still gentle. Sitting beside him was Eli, his son. Eli held Harold's hand with both of his own, as if letting go might make everything worse. He had not slept much in days. His face showed it. His voice cracked when he spoke. "You're going to be okay," Eli said, though he didn't believe it. "They said today's treatment might help." Harold smiled weakly. "You don't have to lie for me," he whispered. "I know my body." Eli looked down, swallowing hard. Outside the room, behind the glass wall, Nadia stood silently. She had arrived 10 minutes earlier but hadn't gone in. She wore a clean-fitted dress and carried a designer bag on her arm. Anyone passing by would think she was visiting someone important. Someone rich. She watched the scene inside without moving. Eli leaning close. Harold squeezing his hand with what little strength he had left. Nadia's phone vibrated. She looked at the screen. Unknown number. She hesitated, then stepped away from the door and answered. "Hello?" A calm, professional voice replied. "Is this Nadia?" "Yes. My name is Ms. Keller. I'm an attorney. I'm calling regarding the passing of a man named Richard Hawley." Nadia's breath caught. She knew that name. "He passed away last night," the woman continued. "Unexpectedly. Heart failure." "I'm sorry." Nadia leaned against the wall. Richard Hawley, the man she had only met twice in her life. The man her mother once called her real father in a moment of anger. The man who had paid for her private school but never came to graduation. The man who told her quietly, "No one can know about you." I'm sorry," Nadia said automatically. "There's more," the lawyer said. "Mr. Hawley did not leave a will." Nadia straightened. "No will?" "That's correct. No named heirs. No instructions. Given certain private records, your name has come up." Nadia's heart began to race. "What does that mean?" "It means you need to come in. Today, if possible. This is sensitive." Nadia looked back at the hospital room. Eli had stood up now, adjusting Harold's blanket. Harold's eyes were closed. "Where?" she asked quietly. "I'll text you the address. Please come alone." The call ended. Nadia stared at her phone. Inside the room, a nurse entered and spoke softly to Eli. He nodded, then stepped out into the hallway and saw Nadia standing there. "You're here," he said, surprised. Relief crossed his face. "Good. He's been asking for you." Nadia forced a small smile. "How is he?" Eli hesitated. "Not good. The doctor says the next chemo has to start today. They won't delay anymore." Nadia's chest tightened. There's a problem," Eli continued. "Insurance won't cover the full cost. We need to pay part of it before they start." "How much?" Nadia asked. Eli told her the number. It was not a huge amount to the wealthy. But to them, it might as well have been a mountain. Nadia looked down at the floor. "I'm working on something," she said. "I just need a little time." Eli searched her face. "Time is the one thing we don't have." Nadia nodded, unable to meet his eyes. "I'll be back," she said. "I promise." She turned and walked down the hallway. Eli watched her leave. Something about her steps felt final. As Nadia sat in the car outside, her phone buzzed again. An address appeared on the screen. A high-rise office building in the financial district. She looked back at the hospital entrance. Ambulances came and went. Families hugged, some cried. She remembered being a child, sick with fever, Harold sitting beside her bed all night, wiping her forehead with a cold cloth. He never complained. Never asked for thanks. She remembered overhearing her mother say, "You should be grateful he stayed." He didn't have to. At the time, Nadia didn't understand. Now she did. Her hands shook as she started the engine. The office building was tall and cold, all glass and steel. Nadia felt small walking inside. Miss Keller met her in a private room. "Thank you for coming so quickly," the lawyer said. "I'll be direct. Mr. Halle had many people around him. Business partners, distant relatives. But none of them were named heirs." She slid a folder across the table. "Your birth records were kept sealed," she continued. "But we found proof of paternity. Enough to bring you into this conversation." Nadia opened the folder. Documents, dates, signatures. "This doesn't mean everything goes to you," the lawyer said carefully. "It means everything is contested." Nadia felt dizzy. "What am I supposed to do?" "Be careful," Miss Keller replied, "and be prepared. People will come to you. Some will smile. Some will threaten quietly." As if on cue, a knock came at the door. A tall man in a dark suit entered without waiting for permission. He smiled politely. "My apologies," he said. "I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm Grant." His handshake was firm. His eyes were sharp. "I've heard a lot about you," he said to Nadia. "You're very important all of a sudden." Nadia frowned. "I don't even know what's happening." Grant smiled again. "That's why you'll need help." Back at the hospital, Eli sat beside Harold again. "He went somewhere important," Eli said softly. "But she'll come back." Harold opened his eyes slowly. "I hope so," he whispered. "I don't want her to feel ashamed of us." Eli didn't answer. That night, Nadia sat alone in her car, staring at the city lights. One message glowed on her phone. From Grant. "Dinner. We should talk about your future." Another message appeared seconds later. From the hospital. "Please come as soon as possible." Nadia closed her eyes. She could only go one place first. And the choice she made tonight would change everything. Nadia did not go back to the hospital that night. She drove past it once, slowed down, then kept going. Her hands were tight on the steering wheel. Every red light felt too long. Every green light felt like permission to run. She told herself she would go in the morning. At home, she sat on the edge of her bed, still wearing her shoes. Her phone lay beside her, face down. She didn't want to see it. She already knew what was there. Her mind drifted backward, to things she had tried not to remember. When Nadia was 13, she once came home early from school. The house was quiet. She heard her mother's voice coming from the kitchen, sharp and low. "He's not even her real father," her mother said. Nadia froze in the hallway. "You should be grateful," her mother continued, not knowing Nadia was listening. Most men would have walked away. That night, Nadia waited for Harold to come home from work. When he did, she studied his face in a way she never had before. The lines around his eyes, the tired smile. She almost asked him the question. But she didn't. From that day on, something inside her shifted. She loved him, but confusion wrapped itself around that love. And confusion slowly turned into distance. The next morning, Nadia woke to multiple missed calls. From the hospital. From Eli. From an unknown number. She stared at the screen, heart pounding. Finally, she answered Eli's call. "Where are you?" he asked, his voice raw. "They needed a decision last night. I had to sign papers I don't even understand." "I'm sorry," Nadia said. "I had something urgent." "So did we," Eli snapped, then immediately softened. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. He just keeps asking for you." The words cut deep. "I'll come today," Nadia said. "I promise." She ended the call and sat in silence. Then her phone buzzed again. "Unknown number," she answered. "Nadia," a smooth male voice said. "It's Grant. I hope I'm not calling too early." "It's fine," she replied. "I wanted to check on you," he said. "Yesterday was overwhelming." "Yes," she said quietly. "I meant what I said," Grant continued. "People will come after you. Some already are. You shouldn't face this alone." There was a pause. "I can meet you before you go anywhere else," he added. "Just to talk," Nadia hesitated. "I need to go to the hospital," she said. "Of course," Grant replied smoothly. Family first. But something in his tone made her feel small. At the hospital, Harold was weaker than before. His eyes lit up when he saw Nadia step in. "You came," he whispered. She sat beside him and took his hand. It felt lighter than she remembered. "I'm here," she said. He studied her face. "You look tired." She almost laughed, almost cried. Eli stood back, arms crossed, watching carefully. Harold squeezed her fingers. "I know I wasn't perfect," he said softly. "But I tried to be enough." "You were," Nadia said quickly. Too quickly. He smiled, but his eyes searched hers, as if looking for something she wasn't giving. A nurse entered, interrupting the moment. She spoke to Eli in hushed tones. Eli nodded, jaw tight. When the nurse left, Eli turned to Nadia. "They're adjusting his treatment," he said. "Again." Harold closed his eyes, exhausted. Nadia stood. "I'll be back soon," she said. "I need to take care of something." Eli looked at her sharply. "You always say that," she didn't reply. Outside, Nadia sat on a bench and checked her phone. A message from Ms. Keller. "We need to talk. There are complications." Another message appeared seconds later. From Grant. "Car is downstairs. I'll take you." Nadia stared at the screen. She told herself this was just a meeting, just information. Just being smart. She got into the car. Grant's office was even more impressive than the law firm. Large windows, city views, quiet power. "You don't belong in chaos," Grant said as he poured coffee. "You belong in control." He slid a document across the table. "What's this?" Nadia asked. "Protection," he replied. "Legal support, media silence. Financial stability. And what do you get?" she asked. Grant smiled slightly. "Alignment." She felt her stomach tighten. "You don't have to decide today," he said. "But understand this, your past and your future are about to collide. You'll lose one of them." Nadia thought of Harold's eyes, then of the numbers in the folder. Back at the hospital, Harold asked Eli a question he had been holding in. "She's embarrassed of me, isn't she?" Eli shook his head. "No, she's just lost." Harold nodded slowly. "I hope she finds her way back before it's too late." That evening, Nadia sat alone again. Hospital on one side of the city, power on the other. Her phone buzzed. From the hospital, "Condition worsening. Please come if you can." From Grant, "Dinner tonight. Important people will be there." Nadia closed her eyes. This time, she didn't answer either message. The city moved fast around Nadia, but inside her, everything felt slow and heavy. The next morning, her phone would not stop ringing. Numbers she didn't recognize. Messages marked urgent, emails with subject lines full of polite danger. She finally answered one. "Nadia," a man said warmly. "My condolences. I worked closely with your father." She stiffened at the word father. "We should meet," he continued. "There are matters that concern you directly." "Who gave you my number?" she asked. A short pause. "That doesn't matter." She ended the call. Her hands trembled. At the law office, Ms. Keller didn't waste time. "You're becoming visible," she said. "That makes you vulnerable." She slid several documents forward. "Names, companies, claims. These people believe you stand in the way," the lawyer explained. "Some want you quiet, some want you cooperative, and some?" Nadia asked. Ms. Keller met her eyes. "Some want you gone," Nadia swallowed. "I didn't ask for any of this. No one ever does," the lawyer replied. "But now it's here." A knock interrupted them. Two men entered, confident and smiling. "Just a quick word," one of them said. "We won't take long." Miss Keller stiffened, but said nothing. The man turned to Nadia. "You could walk away today. Sign a simple agreement. A generous payout. No drama." He placed an envelope on the table. Nadia didn't touch it. "What happens if I don't?" she asked. The man smiled wider. "Life gets complicated." They left as smoothly as they arrived. Nadia felt cold. At the hospital, Eli was losing patience. Harold had not eaten much. His breathing was shallow. Each hour felt borrowed. Eli checked his phone again. No message from Nadia. He walked to the hallway window and stared out at the parking lot, watching cars come and go. Every time a door opened, his heart lifted. Every time it closed, it sank. When Harold woke, his voice was barely there. "She didn't come," he said. Eli shook his head. "She's dealing with something big." Harold nodded slowly. "I know." He paused, then whispered, "If she's choosing a better life, I won't stop her." Eli clenched his jaw. That evening, Nadia attended a quiet dinner Grant had arranged. The restaurant was private. No noise, no photos. People at the table spoke carefully, measuring every word. They treated Nadia like something valuable that hadn't yet decided who it belonged to. Grant stayed close, guiding conversations, redirecting questions. "You're doing well," he whispered to her at one point. "Just listen." A woman across the table leaned forward. "You must be overwhelmed," she said kindly. "But this can all be very simple if you have the right support." Nadia nodded, unsure what to say. After dinner, Grant walked her outside. "Did you notice something?" he asked. She shook her head. "They stopped seeing you as a person," he said calmly. "They see you as leverage." That word stayed with her. Leverage. Later that night, Nadia finally went to the hospital. She stood outside Harold's room again, just like before. Through the glass she saw Eli asleep in a chair, his head resting against the wall. Harold lay still, eyes closed. She opened the door quietly. Harold stirred. "Nadia?" he whispered. She rushed to his side. "I'm here." He smiled weakly. "I was afraid I imagined you." She took his hand. Tears burned her eyes. "I don't know what I'm doing," she admitted softly. Harold squeezed her fingers with what little strength he had. "Whatever it is, don't lose yourself." She nodded, unable to speak. Eli woke and saw her. His relief quickly turned into frustration. "You can't keep disappearing," he said quietly but firmly. "We need you present or not at all." His words hurt because they were true. As Nadia left the hospital, her phone buzzed again. "From Ms. Keller, someone is challenging your claim. They're aggressive." Another message followed immediately. From Grant. "Come stay with me tonight. It's safer." Nadia stopped walking. Safer. She thought of the hospital room, then the quiet power of Grant's world. She replied to Grant with one word. "Okay." Back in the hospital, Harold woke suddenly and looked around. "Where is she?" he asked. Eli hesitated. "I think she's choosing," he said. Harold closed his eyes. "I just hope she remembers who loved her when nothing else did." That night, as Nadia lay awake in a luxurious room she didn't yet feel belonged to her, she stared at the ceiling. For the first time, she realized something frightening. She was no longer standing between two worlds. She was slowly leaving one behind. Nadia woke up in a room that felt more like a hotel than a home. The bed was wide and soft. The curtains opened with the touch of a button. The city stretched below the windows like a painting. Everything was clean, quiet, controlled. She sat up slowly. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it came back, Grant's place. She checked her phone. 6 missed calls from the hospital. 3 from Eli. Her chest tightened. Before she could call back, the door opened softly. Grant walked in, already dressed, calm and confident, as if nothing in the world was urgent. "Good morning," he said. "I hope you slept." "I didn't," Nadia replied. Grant nodded as if he expected that. "Big changes keep the mind busy." She stood up. "I need to go to the hospital." Grant poured coffee without looking at her. "You can later." Her head snapped up. "What do you mean later?" "I mean," he said evenly, "if you go there now, emotional decisions will cloud your judgment." She stared at him. "That's my family." Grant finally turned toward her. His voice stayed gentle, but something firm lived underneath it. "And this," he said, gesturing around the room, "is your future." The words hung in the air. At the hospital, Eli paced the hallway. Harold had barely spoken all morning. His breathing was slower. Uneven. Eli checked his phone again. Nothing. A nurse approached him quietly. "We need consent for the next step." Eli rubbed his face. "She's on her way," but he wasn't sure anymore. Back at Grant's apartment, Nadia sat across from him at a long table. Folders lay open between them. "These are protective measures," Grant explained. "Legal teams. Financial advisors. Security." "Security from who?" Nadia asked. Grant looked at her carefully. "People who see you as a threat." "I never wanted to be one," she said. Grant leaned back. "Power doesn't ask permission." She looked down at the papers. Numbers blurred together. "I just need time," she whispered. Grant's expression softened. "Time is expensive." He slid one document closer. "If you align with me," he continued, "you won't have to beg hospitals or explain yourself to anyone ever again." Nadia flinched. "That's not fair." "No," Grant said calmly. "That's reality." Later that afternoon, Nadia finally returned Eli's call. "Where have you been?" Eli demanded, unable to hide his anger. "I'm handling things," she said. "Handling what?" He snapped. "He's fading, Nadia." She closed her eyes. "I know. Do you?" Eli asked. "Because it feels like you're already gone." She didn't answer. "Come now," Eli said. "Please." "I can't," she whispered. There was silence on the line. Then Eli spoke again, quieter this time. "Then don't come at all." The call ended. Nadia stared at her phone, her hands shaking. That evening, Grant hosted another small gathering. Not a party, a demonstration. People shook Nadia's hand differently now, with interest, with calculation. She smiled when expected, laughed at the right moments. Inside, she felt hollow. At one point, Grant placed a hand lightly on her back. "You're doing well," he murmured. "They respect you." She looked around the room. No one here knew Harold. No one here cared if he lived or died. For the first time, Nadia wondered if this was what strength felt like or just distance. Late that night, a message finally came through from the hospital. "Please come if you want to see him awake." Nadia stood up abruptly. "I have to go," she said. Grant caught her wrist, not roughly, but firmly. "If you leave now," he said, "you'll walk back into weakness." She pulled her hand away. "He raised me." Grant's eyes hardened just a little. "And he couldn't protect you," he said. The words struck deeper than he knew. Nadia hesitated. Her phone buzzed again. "He's asking for you." Tears filled her eyes. Grant stepped closer. "You don't owe pain your future." She looked at him, then at her phone. Slowly, painfully, Nadia turned the phone face down. "I'll go tomorrow," she said. Grant nodded, satisfied. At the hospital, Harold opened his eyes briefly. "Nadia?" he whispered. Eli swallowed hard. "She'll come." Harold smiled faintly. "Tell her." I never blamed her. His eyes closed again. That night, Nadia lay beside Grant, staring at the ceiling. For the first time, she realized something terrifying. Every step she took toward power was a step away from the man who loved her without conditions. And she was still walking. The hospital lights felt colder that night. Eli sat alone beside Harold's bed. The machines were louder now, their beeping uneven. Harold's breathing was shallow, each breath a quiet struggle. Eli wiped his eyes and leaned closer. "She come," he said, though his voice no longer believed it. Harold opened his eyes slowly. "She's busy," he whispered. Eli swallowed hard. "She's trying to fix things." Harold gave a small smile. "She always tried so hard." His fingers twitched, reaching for someone who wasn't there. Across the city, Nadia stood in front of a mirror. A woman adjusted the fabric of an expensive dress around her shoulders. The mirror showed someone polished, powerful, someone unrecognizable. Grant watched from the doorway. "You look ready," he said. "For what?" Nadia asked. "For the life you deserve." She turned away from the mirror. "I need to see him." Grant didn't move. "You've already made your choice." Her phone buzzed. "From Eli. He's asking for you again." Nadia stared at the message. Grant stepped closer. If you go now, you'll unravel everything. Tears filled her eyes. He's dying. Grant's voice stayed calm. So are parts of your past. Something in Nadia broke. She typed her response. I can't come tonight. She hit send. At the hospital, Eli read the message. His hands shook. He looked at Harold, who was watching his face. She's not coming, is she? Harold asked quietly. Eli nodded, unable to speak. Harold closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, his voice was barely a whisper. Then listen to me, he said. Don't be angry at her. Eli clenched his jaw. She's leaving you. Harold shook his head slowly. No, she's trying to survive. He paused, gathering breath. I was never rich, he continued. All I could give her was love. Maybe that wasn't enough. Tears slid down Eli's face. It was enough, he said. It should have been. That night, Grant hosted a private celebration. There was no announcement, no speeches, just quiet approval. A woman leaned toward Nadia and smiled. You've done the right thing. Loyalty to the future matters more than loyalty to the past. Nadia nodded, though her chest felt tight. Grant placed his hand over hers. Everyone sees you now, he said softly. She forced a smile. Inside, guilt screamed. Later, Eli stood alone in the hallway. A doctor approached him gently. You should prepare yourself, the doctor said. Eli nodded. He had already been preparing for days. He walked back into the room. Harold's eyes were open. She didn't come, Eli said. Harold nodded slowly. I know. There was a long silence. Then Harold asked the question he had been afraid to ask. Was I a burden to her? Eli's heart shattered. No, he said firmly. You were her foundation. Harold smiled faintly. Then I hope she remembers that. Back at Grant's apartment, Nadia finally took off the dress. She sat on the edge of the bed, shaking. Her phone buzzed again. From the hospital. Please come now. She stood up, panic flooding her chest. I'm going, she said suddenly. Grant looked at her calmly. Too calmly. If you walk out now, he said, you won't be walking back into this life. She froze. I can't lose him, she whispered. Grant stepped closer. You already are. The words landed like a verdict. Nadia looked at the door, then at the room, then at the future Grant had promised. Slowly, she sat back down. I'll go in the morning, she said. Grant nodded once. At the hospital, Harold's breathing slowed. Eli held his hand, tears falling freely now. You're not alone, Eli said. I'm here. Harold's lips moved. Nadia. Eli leaned closer. I forgive her, Harold whispered. Tell her that. His hand relaxed in Eli's grip. The machine let out a long, steady sound. Across the city, Nadia slept. Her phone lay face down, unanswered. Nadia woke up to silence. Not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind that feels wrong. Sunlight spilled across Grant's bedroom. The city looked calm, unaware that something had ended during the night. Her phone was still face down on the table. For a moment, she didn't move. Then she turned it over. Missed calls, messages, voicemails. Her heart began to pound. She opened the first message. From Eli, he's gone. Nadia froze. She read it again, and again. Her body refused to understand what her eyes were seeing. She called Eli immediately. The call went to voicemail. She tried again. Nothing. Her legs gave out, and she sank onto the edge of the bed. He's gone, she whispered to herself. No, no. Grant appeared in the doorway, already dressed. You're awake, he said. She looked up at him, eyes wide and empty. He died, she said. Last night. Grant paused for half a second. Only half. I'm sorry, he replied calmly. She stared at him. I should have been there. Grant walked in and sat beside her. You couldn't change the outcome, he said. Don't punish yourself. She laughed suddenly short and broken. I chose not to go, she said. I chose this. Grant placed a hand on her shoulder. And now you have to live with it. The words felt colder than comfort. The funeral was small. No luxury, no cameras, just Eli, a few neighbors. A quiet room filled with loss. Nadia stood at the back, dressed in black. She felt like an intruder. Eli did not look at her. When the service ended, she stepped forward, heart racing. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Eli finally turned to her. His face was calm, but his eyes were done. "He waited," Eli said. "He kept asking for you." Nadia's breath caught. "I didn't know." "Yes, you did," Eli replied. "Not angry, we're certain. You just chose not to come." She reached out. He stepped back. "He forgave you," Eli continued quietly. "That was his last request." The words crushed her. "But I don't," he added. Eli walked away. Nadia stood alone. Life moved quickly after that. Lawyers, meetings, signatures. People treated her differently now, with respect, with expectation. No one mentioned the hospital. No one mentioned Harold. Grant took control. "From now on," he said one evening, "we don't look back." She nodded. But at night, sleep wouldn't come. She heard machines beeping in the dark. Felt a hand slipping out of hers. Heard a whisper, "I forgive her." She woke up shaking. One afternoon, Miss Keller called. "There's been a development," the lawyer said. "What kind?" Nadia asked. "Something your biological father left behind," she replied. "Not a will, a letter." Nadia straightened. "A letter?" "Yes, private, sealed. It was meant to be delivered later, but circumstances have changed." "When can I see it?" Nadia asked. There was a pause. "Soon," the lawyer said, "but you should be prepared. It may not say what you expect." That evening, Nadia tried to talk to Grant. "I feel like I'm losing myself," she admitted. Grant didn't look up from his phone. "You're adjusting," he said. "Weakness feels uncomfortable at first." "That's not what this is," she said. Grant finally met her eyes. "You wanted freedom," he said. "Freedom has a price." She realized then, this wasn't partnership, it was control. Later that night, Nadia stood alone on the balcony. The city lights flickered below. She thought of Harold's small apartment. His tired smile, the way he never asked her for anything. Tears fell freely now. For the first time since everything began, Nadia understood something clearly. She hadn't lost him the night he died. She lost him the moment she chose money over love. And now, no amount of wealth could bring him back. From the outside, Nadia's life looked perfect. She lived in a glass tower overlooking the city. Her name appeared in business magazines. People smiled when she entered rooms. Doors opened before she reached them. But inside the apartment, silence followed her everywhere. Grant traveled often. When he was home, he was distant. Everything had rules now: what she wore, where she went, who she spoke to. "Just keeping things clean," he would say. Nadia stopped arguing. She was tired. One morning, she tried to visit the old neighborhood. Grant noticed immediately. "Where are you going?" he asked, calm but alert. "I need air," she replied. "You don't need to go there for that," he said. "I grew up there." Grant's eyes hardened. "That life is finished." The words felt like a lock clicking shut. That afternoon, Nadia met Miss Keller again. The lawyer handed her a sealed envelope. "This was written months before Richard Hawley died," she said. "He instructed that it remain private unless certain conditions were met." Nadia stared at the envelope. "What conditions?" she asked. Miss Keller hesitated. "If you abandon the people who raised you." Nadia's breath caught. "That was specific," she whispered. The lawyer nodded. "He knew more than you think." Nadia slid her finger under the seal. Her hands shook as she unfolded the letter. The letter read slowly, emotionally. "If you are reading this, then I am gone, and you have chosen something over someone. I watched from a distance as another man gave you what I never could: presence. I paid money. He paid with his life. I was rich in power. He was rich in love. I am ashamed that I hid you. I am proud that he raised you. Anything I leave behind is not meant to reward betrayal, but to protect loyalty. Nadia's vision blurred. Miss Keller spoke softly. There's more, the letter continued. I set aside resources not in your name but in trust. For the man who never asked me for anything, and for the son who stood by him. Nadia felt the room spin. What does that mean? She asked. Ms. Keller met her eyes. It means the inheritance you expected was never meant for you alone. That night, Nadia confronted Grant. They left something for Harold and Eli, she said. A trust. Grant's expression darkened. That changes things, he said. How? She asked. It complicates our position, he replied sharply. Our? She repeated. Grant stepped closer. Everything we're building depends on leverage. Leverage over who? She asked. Grant didn't answer, and that silence told her everything. Later, alone, Nadia looked at old photos on her phone. Harold teaching her to ride a bike. Harold clapping at her graduation. Harold standing in the back, always. She realized something painful. Grant never asked how she felt, never asked who Harold was. He only asked what she could bring. The next day, Grant canceled a meeting without telling her. She found out by accident. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. Because it wasn't your concern, Grant replied. She stared at him. I'm not your asset. Grant's voice turned cold. Everyone is an asset. The truth finally stood naked between them. That night, Nadia packed a small bag. Not to leave yet, but to remind herself she could. She sat on the bed, holding the envelope again. For the first time since Harold died, something new stirred inside her. Not guilt, resolve. Across the city, Eli stood in a modest office with a banker. I don't understand, Eli said. Why would he do this? The banker replied quietly, because your father earned it. Eli looked down. He had never felt rich. But for the first time, he felt seen. Nadia stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker. She finally understood. The money was never the test. The test was loyalty. And she had failed it once. The question now was, would she fail it again? Nadia did not sleep that night. The letter stayed open on the table, its words burned into her mind. Every sentence felt heavier now that she understood the truth. The money was never meant to save her. It was meant to honor loyalty. And she had chosen the opposite. The next morning, Grant's tone changed. He was polite but distant, efficient, cold. Miss Keller called, he said while adjusting his watch. She's slowing things down. Nadia looked up. She's doing her job. No, Grant replied. She's interfering. That word sent a chill through her. I want to meet Eli, Nadia said suddenly. Grant stopped moving. Why? He asked. I owe him more than silence, she replied. Grant's eyes narrowed. That chapter is closed. It isn't for me, Nadia said. Grant stepped closer. You're thinking emotionally. I'm thinking clearly, she answered. Grant exhaled slowly. Then listen carefully. If you step into that world again, you weaken our position. Our position, Nadia repeated. Not mine. Grant didn't deny it. That afternoon, Nadia went to the trust office alone. Miss Keller met her with a serious expression. You need to know something, the lawyer said. Grant has been making inquiries, aggressive ones. About what? Nadia asked. The trust, Miss Keller replied. He's attempting to challenge it through marriage claims and influence. Nadia's chest tightened. He wants control, she whispered. Miss Keller nodded. And he's not subtle anymore. Across town, Eli received a call. They're pushing hard, the banker said. Someone with power wants this shut down, Eli sighed. I don't want to fight, the banker paused. Then you should prepare for one. That evening, Nadia confronted Grant again. I spoke to my lawyer, she said. Grant's jaw tightened. You shouldn't do that without me. That's the problem, Nadia replied. Everything is with you. Grant laughed once. You think walking away fixes this? No, she said. But staying will destroy me. Grant's voice dropped. You owe me. I owe you nothing, Nadia replied quietly. You offered protection. You took control. Grant stared at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, but there was no warmth in it. If you leave, he said, you'll lose everything. Nadia's hands trembled, but her voice didn't. I already did. She packed a bag that night. Not carefully, not neatly. Just enough. Grant watched from the doorway. You won't survive without me, he said. Nadia looked at him, really looked. I survived without money, she replied. I forgot how to survive without power. She walked past him. The next day, Nadia met Eli. It was awkward, heavy. I'm not here for forgiveness, she said. I know I don't deserve it. Eli studied her face. Then why are you here? Because the truth matters, she replied. And because what they left. It belongs to you. Eli shook his head. I don't want blood money. It's not blood money, Nadia said softly. It's acknowledgement. Silence settled between them. Finally, Eli spoke. He loved you, he said. Even when it hurt. Tears filled Nadia's eyes. I know, she whispered. Too late. That night, Nadia received a final message from Grant. You're making a mistake. She typed back only one word. Goodbye. As legal battles began quietly behind closed doors, something unexpected happened. Public interest shifted. Grant's influence weakened. The truth, once hidden, began to surface. And the trust remained untouched. Nadia stood alone in a small apartment she had rented. No view, no luxury. Just silence. For the first time, it didn't feel empty. It felt honest. But one final question remained. Would Nadia face the consequences of her choice fully, or would the past claim one last price? The small apartment felt unfamiliar at first. No glass walls, no city skyline, no quiet power humming in the background. Just plain walls, secondhand furniture, and morning light coming through a single window. Nadia sat at the table with a cup of coffee she hadn't finished. She hadn't slept much, but for the first time in weeks, her chest felt lighter. Not healed. Just honest. A knock came at the door. She froze for a moment, then stood and opened it. Eli stood there, holding a thin folder. I won't stay long, he said. That's okay, Nadia replied. Thank you for coming. He stepped inside and looked around. No judgment, just observation. You didn't have to leave everything, he said. I did, Nadia answered softly. If I stayed, I would have kept lying to myself. Eli nodded slowly. He placed the folder on the table. It's final, he said. The trust is secure. No interference. No claims. Nadia swallowed. I'm glad, Eli hesitated. There's something else. She looked up. He left you something too, Eli said. Her breath caught. I don't deserve. It's not money, Eli interrupted. He opened the folder and slid out a single piece of paper. A handwritten note. Nadia's hands shook as she read. If you're reading this, it means you're still alive, and that's enough. I don't want you to punish yourself forever. You made a choice. People do that. Just promise me one thing. Don't become someone who forgets where she came from. Love, Dad. The word Dad broke her. Tears fell freely now, unchecked. I didn't come, she whispered. I failed him. Eli's voice stayed calm. He knew you were lost. He didn't confuse that with cruelty. Nadia covered her face. I thought money would protect me, she said. I didn't know it would cost me him. Eli stood. He wouldn't want you stuck in that moment forever, he said. Neither would I. He paused at the door. But forgiveness, he added, is something you'll have to earn by how you live next. Then he left. Weeks passed. No headlines. No luxury events. No powerful dinners. Nadia found work quietly. Nothing glamorous. Honest work. She volunteered at a local center on weekends. Sat with people who were sick. Listened more than she spoke. Sometimes, when she held a stranger's hand, she remembered the one she didn't hold when it mattered most. That memory never left. But it stopped owning her. One afternoon, Nadia visited the cemetery alone. She stood in front of Harold's grave, holding the folded note in her hand. "I won't explain myself," she said softly. "You already knew me." The wind moved through the trees. "I can't undo what I did," she continued. "But I won't run from it either." She placed fresh flowers at the stone. "I'll live better," she promised. "Not richer, better." Far away, Grant watched his world shrink. Power faded. Influence slipped. People stopped answering calls. He had lost interest in Nadia the moment she stopped being useful. And that told her everything she ever needed to know. Months later, Nadia received a message from Eli. "Dad would have liked the person you're becoming." She read it twice. Then once more. And for the first time since the hospital room, she smiled through tears. Some people lose everything chasing money. Others lose money chasing truth. Nadia lost both and gained something harder to earn: accountability. And sometimes that is the beginning of redemption.